Please join me in invocation. O Lord our God, today we turn to you each in our own way. We recognize the gracious gifts and blessings you and you alone have given us along this journey, from student to physician, in your healing mission. We pause to celebrate the completion of this stage of our students' studies and implore your continued grace upon us as we take care of and care for those patients you will send to us. May your grace extend to those who will speak today, and may they speak your words of wisdom to us. Please bless our school leaders, faculty, students, residents, staff, and lend your sanctifying grace to the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine, class of 2020. You, O Lord, have blessed us greatly and given us a tremendous responsibility and mission to relieve the suffering of all members of our community. May we always seek to serve you through those in need of our ministrations. Through your blessings, we pray. Amen. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you the members of our platform party. Please stand to be acknowledged as your name is called and remain standing. Dr. Paul Ogden, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. Dr. Maureen Francis, Assistant Academic Dean for Medical Education, College Master and Professor for the Department of Medical Education, and Clinical Associate Professor in the Department of Internal Medicine. Dr. Linda Ellis, Associate Dean for Student Affairs. Dr. Charmaine Martin, Assistant Dean for Student Affairs and Associate Professor of Family and Community Medicine. Dr. Cynthia Perry, Assistant Dean for Admissions and Assistant Professor for the Department of Medical Education. Dr. Jose Manuel de la Rosa, Vice President for Outreach and Community Engagement. And Jacob Winters, who should need no introduction. He's the President of the Class of 2020. And now, Jacob Winters, President of the Class of 2020, the podium is yours. Please be seated.
Thank you, Dr. Lang, members of the podium party, and thank you to you, our family and friends who are watching and who have supported us for decades to reach this point. Y antes de empezar, le quiero agradecer a la ciudad del Paso y a toda la región y su gente aquí en la frontera. Gracias por su apoyo, su cariño y su amor. Ustedes han sido nuestros primeros pacientes y así será para siempre. And finally, thank you to you, my classmates, for letting me serve as your president. It's been an honor to serve some of the most talented and selfless people that I've ever met. I cannot think of a better group with whom to go into battle during what may be the most involved pandemic in 100 years. It is a privilege to count you as friends and colleagues. Now, I want to use this opportunity to remind you about the 2 C's and the 2 G's, which I will introduce. As any medical student at our school knows, at the beginning of our studies, Dr. Lang gives us the 2 C's that are required to be a physician: competence and compassion. Competence and compassion. You can't have one without the other. If you have compassion with your patients, but you aren't competent, you're simply not a good physician. And if you are competent but lack compassion, well, you're not a good doctor either. Now, I'd argue that there are 2 underlying elements without which you won't maintain competence or compassion in our career. These 2 basic elements are what I call the 2 G's: God and grit. God and grit. First, God. This is not a poorly veiled attempt to proselytize, but rather this is something that I mean to say that you must have a belief in some greater reason, some greater purpose in order to thrive in this profession. For some of us, this unequivocally is a relationship with a personal God. For others, it's the pursuit of some other great purpose, a desire to leave your mark on humanity, to do right by a sick or dying friend or family member. It may be a test of our own agency in this material world or some other form of self-actualization. But whatever the reason, we must stay connected to this higher purpose if we are to continue to nurture this vocation of ours. God. God. And grit. Grit is tenacity. It's elasticity. It's resilience. It's how many times you can get knocked down and still get back up. All too often, medical school and medicine is about how many times during the month, during the week, during the day, during the hour, you can feel humiliated, to be completely humbled, and yet continue to try. Grit is what Abraham Lincoln meant when he said, "Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any one thing." Grit is what my classmates have done. Being born to teenage parents and then becoming a first-generation college student. Moving to the United States, being raised by your siblings, then being deported, then becoming an American citizen, and now graduating from medical school. Grit is immigrating to America and pursuing a dream of becoming a doctor in your grandfather's footsteps, getting into medical school, and then continuing on in clinical rotations despite the death of your father. Grit is being the first one in your family to become a doctor. Grit is sacrificing an existing career for the mere chance to become a physician. Grit is coming from a great socioeconomic background and a financially sound family, and yet avoiding complacency and still offering your intellect and will in the service of others. Grit is having the humility to take care of yourself and your own internal struggles so that you can take care of your patients and theirs. God and grit. God, grit. God, you have to have faith in something greater than yourself. Grit, you have to be tenacious. These, I feel, are the things necessary in order to prevent burnout, to stay well, and ultimately not merely survive, but thrive in this calling. To close, I want to share with you a quote from Theodore Roosevelt that I shared with you, my classmates, the first time that I addressed our class 4 years ago. "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, and who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat." Class of 2020, that's us. Congratulations. This was the crucible of hopes and dreams, and we've made it. And now it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce Dr. De La Rosa, our keynote speaker today.
Thank you, Jacob. Well done. I especially like the 2 Gs. I've been charged tonight to give a retrospective look at the accomplishments and histories of Texas Tech El Paso. Tonight, we close a year of celebration for a decade of accomplishments as the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine. And I can think of no better way to celebrate our accomplishments of our faculty, staff, students, and administration than graduating our 8th class of physicians to serve the community. I hope to do 3 things tonight. First, review our history. Second, speak about some key philosophies to becoming a great physician. And third, trumpet our graduating class's success. As I struggled to capture in my comments the pride our entire community has in you, our students, I realized I cannot, in the simple words of some of our patients, just do it without referring to the motivation and philosophy of the faculty who made tonight possible. You're going to hear tonight a lot of alphabet soup. And as a pediatrician, I tend to simplify things and alphabetize things. Within the ABCs that are key to being a great physician, there are not 2, but 3 C's that you must be. You've all heard Dr. Lang's caring and competent physician, but I'm here to talk a little bit about engaging with your community. And so there's 3 C's. I know Dr. Lang will actually deliver 6 D's at the end of the speech. I was glad to hear 2 G's, but I'm going to talk about the 3 C's. But let me start with our history. Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center was brought to El Paso to serve the community, specifically to serve what was then Thomason General Hospital, El Hospital General. In fact, Texas Tech has been in El Paso for over 50 years. Prior to its arrival, the first attempts to establish a modern medical school within El Paso's boundaries occurred in the late 1950s and 60s, but were unfruitful. It was not until a coalition of West Texas leadership convened during the 1969 legislative session that we were to be successful. Working with a delegation from Houston, votes were traded to establish the University of Texas at Houston School of Medicine and a West Texas Medical School. This statewide coalition was led by Governor Preston Smith, who is infamously quoted by the history books as saying, "They won't get theirs till we get ours." Naively thinking that because El Paso had the largest population in West Texas, had an existing teaching hospital with established residency programs, and could arguably be in the greatest need for medical services, the El Paso House delegation voted in favor of a West Texas medical school. However, their dream of seeing a modern medical school within the boundaries of El Paso County was not to be. Governor Preston Smith from Lubbock decreed that the medical school was to be located in the hub of the South Plains. Infuriated by what they saw as a betrayal, the El Paso representatives prodded a young senator by the name of Joe Christie into a senatorial filibuster. Like Jimmy Stewart in the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, our local senator spoke for 16 hours on the Senate floor, while behind the scenes, a backdoor deal was made to meet the needs of both communities. The physicians employed as faculty at Texas Tech were destined to serve at Thomason General Hospital. Texas Tech School of Medicine was brought to El Paso to serve as faculty for the 3rd and 4th years of the West Texas Medical School. That medical school celebrated its 50th anniversary in 2019. Fast forward about 25 years. It's an established school. We're serving the 3rd and 4th years. Several faculty from El Paso embarked on a plan to establish clinics in the colonias east of El Paso. The clinics were primitive. One was an old public health clinic built over a septic tank. Another was housed in the bar that the community had effectively closed down due to amazing peer pressure and social activism. There's a story there. The communities themselves lacked infrastructure, often without electricity, almost always without running waters, consistently without sewers. The practice environment was euphemistically best described as Spartan. Those of our faculty who practiced there made our diagnoses and delivered our treatments based on what we could see, hear, feel, and sometimes smell. We had to re-hone our clinical skills and cease our dependence on modern technology. It was not easy. Some asked why we embarked on this folly, why we undertook this fool's errand, abandoning the technology and skills we had spent years learning and developing, and were now at our command within the modern regional medical center that was now well established in El Paso. This openly posed question could be generalized to any of our founding faculty here today. Indeed, family and friends still often question why we as faculty or students or staff stay in El Paso. Why not move to the cities to the west or the east where we can make more money seeing fewer patients? After all, the struggle to become a physician is long and hard. Why not abandon El Paso and make our lives easier and richer? As I look back, I can now confidently answer that we stay because we all believe some basic principles. These principles became the foundation for our medical school, indeed, our entire university. We believe as physicians we can personally make an impact in El Paso. We believe the people in our communities deserve the best health care in spite of economic resources. We believe that our communities and clinics can serve as wonderful teaching locations for our medical students and residents. The rediscovery of our physical diagnostic skills brought us to a realization of how critical it is to teach this diagnostic art that is quickly becoming lost to the practice of medicine. We came to believe that disease prevention often holds more hope for our communities than late disease intervention. Finally, we felt a personal calling to serve as role models for the children of our community and our own children, to convince them that education is a way of poverty, is a way out of poverty. Education is a way out of poverty and the diseases associated with poverty. I now believe that these principles are key to a physician's concept of social justice, a concept that says that all persons, regardless of ethnicity, gender, religion, or social economic status, should be treated equally and without bias. The concept of acceptance of different opinions as a strength and including them within our worldview is indeed the backbone for diversity and inclusion. So how did these beliefs translate into the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine? It began with a simple question. When we began to take our students into the Spartan environments, we began to question our own teaching modalities and pedagogies. We realized we had not only lost our basic skills as clinicians and had become dependent on technology, but many of us had also lost motivation in our connection to the community. Then, when we took our students into our clerkships, we who questioned our skills questioned our students' knowledge and blamed others. The founding question became, simply stated, what the heck are they teaching those medical students during the first 2 years in Lubbock? It was there that the notion of starting our own independent, freestanding, full, four-year medical school was reborn. Remember, we were all clinicians. We were just during the third and fourth year. And so as arrogant clinicians, we thought we knew better about how physicians think. We sought to inculcate in our students how doctors think from the beginning of their training. Thus, with the help of consultants, we created a curriculum molded around the concept of case-centered clinical presentations and early immersive experiences in the community. We expanded our curriculum at the suggestion of our community health workers, our promotoras, and mandated that our students learn Spanish to better communicate with our patients. We built learning communities so students could participate in discussing controversial topics in small group environments. Indeed, social justice was a motivating factor in our push for a new medical curriculum. We still hope to instill in our students the altruism that so many believe is essential to the physician. This requires a good dose of discussion and understanding of the social determinants of health. We constructed our campus, built half a dozen educational facilities, physically growing the campus with the addition of over 500,000 square feet of clinical, education, and research space. Our architecture sending a message to our community. We are currently completing the addition of a second research building that will add another 250,000 square feet of space to our campus, and a new dental school. We established a collaborative effort with our practice plan in the El Paso community, nearly tripling the presence of our clinical faculty in the underserved communities of El Paso. We also founded a public-private partnership and built a new Trans-Mountain teaching campus in an affluent part of the city. We capitalized on our unique presence on our United States-Mexico border by establishing cross-disciplinary research centers in Hispanic diseases. Our unique dedication to insisting of participation in research programs for the entirety of our undergraduate medical education program without sacrificing excellence in teaching and mentoring led to the development of our colleges within the School of Medicine. Our faculty, together with our staff, provided for the educational resources of students by establishing the first scholarships for the first classes. We continue that tradition today. We capitalized on our unique location by capturing diverse experiences and worldviews through programs in cultural competency and global health. In each of these attempts, it was the El Paso community that was instrumental in our success. People from outside of our community told us it could not be done, that El Paso was too small, too remote, too isolated, too fractured, and too poor to do what no other city had been able to do in establishing a new medical school. But that's where the power of El Paso's community came in. The great pride of our community, our orgullo. I mentioned clinicians' arrogance. The reality was that no one had established a new medical school in over 30 years. Indeed, there were actually policies against establishing new medical schools. These policies were at both the national and state levels and prohibited any new funding being appropriated by the Texas legislature. It was the El Paso County Medical Society that initiated the singular proposition to change these policies. They rammed it through the Texas Medical Association, which provided the lobbying efforts to permit the initial funding. It was the El Paso business community that provided the capital, the wherewithal, and the political knowledge to leverage their influence to have the state legislature approve a medical school in El Paso. As a lifetime member of the El Paso community, I have been privileged to see us all unite and work together on 3 separate occasions: an active shooter, a generational pandemic, and to establish our medical school. We united to achieve what could not be done. Our West Side residents working with our East Side homeowners, our North Side working with our South Side, rich and poor forming a coalition dedicating to making our medical school their #1 priority. We were able to fundraise from rich and poor. Gifts of $50 million and $5 came to our endowments. Gifts of food and land came to us. Many in our community vetted, supported, and still see our medical school as their life's work. Perseverance won the day. True grit. The city of El Paso worked together with the county of El Paso, and our delegation celebrated victory when the governor came to El Paso to ceremoniously sign the bill establishing our new medical school, the El Paso Medical School, the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine. We believe our medical school, its curriculum, and you, our students, will redefine American medicine. How can our vision be so grand and self-assured? It's because we see disease prevention as a key part of the knowledge that medical students must acquire and use on their way to becoming physicians of the future. It is because we see that communities must take back their responsibilities and rights to be involved in their own health care. It is because we envision encouraging the students under our tutelage to see their role differently and much more holistically in providing for our patients. From that vision and experience was born the idea of our new medical school. We envisioned a medical student body who would share in that vision, and you are a part of what we are confident will be a long line of physicians who share in that ideal. So what does that little history lesson have to do with you, our students? How successful were we? Or are we? I had said at the beginning of this 10th anniversary speech to do 3 things: give you a little history, talk about engaging with our community, and bragging on our success. Let's get to the bragging. Beginning with the philosophy of our founding faculty, our beliefs in social justice and the concept of preventive medicine, we moved to establish a collaborative MPH program. Today, we brag on the success of our graduating students, for 10 of them have completed our joint MD-MPH program. We discussed the founding of our medical school to serve the underserved in our El Paso community. To note, we celebrate today 15 students and their induction into the Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Society, whose motto it is, "Be worthy to serve the suffering." Today, we honor 15 medical students for demonstrating excellence in clinical care, leadership and compassion and dedication to service by noting their induction into the National Gold Humanism Society. In founding our school, we sought to establish research programs to establish our community's unique niche in medicine. Today, we celebrate the amazing success of one of our students who achieved a distinction in research and scholarship. As I noted, the first introduction to our students is an immersion into the community. As a result of these introductory immersions, many of you felt called to serve our community. This resulted in over 13,000 hours of documented volunteer service by you, our graduating class. Some of this occurred during our Martin Luther King Day of Service. Others volunteered their clinical service to 4 distinct medical student activities, namely the Paul L. Foster Medical Student Run Free Clinic, the RotoCare Clinic, the Baptist Clinic, and the Sin Fronteras Migrant Farm Workers Clinic. It was your class that added a 5th activity. It was your class that lobbied to obtain a van that has established a new formal service to our community, the Foster School of Medicine Medical Student Run Clinic Mobile Care Unit that goes consistently to the colonias. During our current generational pandemic, you found ways to engage with our community. There were countless informal volunteers organizing to gather blankets and toys for children's hospitals. You provided translation services in homeless shelters. You gathered clothing and served food at refugee hospitality centers. And yes, you found ways to provide services to those infected with the coronavirus in both the El Paso and the Juarez community. It is clear we have been successful. We have been imparting our school's philosophy. You, our student body, clearly embody what we visioned. As we look around our physical campus today, I urge you all to remember that we purposely and deliberately made a decision on its appearance. The architectural style of all of our new buildings on our campus was built in the Spanish Renaissance architecture, trumpeting our message to our community. There is no fence at the edge of our campus. There is no border between us and the community, and that we welcome all our communities onto our campus for summer movies and winter cookies and hot chocolate, as well as clinical services. We encourage our campus and you, our students, to merge with the community. In closing, I hope you remember this little history lesson and what you learned during your stay at our campus. And always remember there was an intentional formation that you received from both a formal and informal curriculum. As you recite your class oath today, also remember, life is an admissions exam. Let's ace it. Juntos podemos triunfar. Juntos podemos ganar. United we will triumph. United we will win. Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce our founding president and dean of the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine, Dr. Richard Lang.
Thank you, both Dr. De La Rosa and Dr. Winters. Excellent words. I will not forget God and grit. Thank you for remembering compassion and competence as well. Paul L. Foster School of Medicine class of 2020, I am truly honored that I was asked to provide your commencement speech, and quite frankly, a little surprised. You had obviously forgotten that I failed my first medical school exam. It was a pathology test that eliminated this specialty from my choice of residencies. And you may not have known that the first patient I ever saw in the emergency department had severe decompensated COPD and was soon to be intubated. And my diagnosis was, he's sick. In fact, when pressed for a more definitive diagnosis by the attending, I responded, really sick. Both are true stories, by the way. In the interest of full disclosure, I'll admit that I attended my medical school graduation, but I really don't recall any of the details. I mean, I faintly recall there was a commencement speech, kind of like I remember having childhood chicken pox and a kidney stone and my wife shouting, "You did this to me!" when she was in labor. All these were excruciating, long, and painful experiences, and my prayers for deliverance went unanswered. Now, since then, I've learned that the secret of a great commencement speech is to have a very good beginning and a good ending, and to have them as close together as possible. I imagine that's why you asked me to talk to you today. You may recall that I delivered the very first charge to you on your first day of school in July of 2016. And as Dr. Winters noticed, doesn't it have a nice ring to it? Beautiful. I challenge you to be compassionate and competent physicians. That day you were wide-eyed, nervous, and naive about what laid ahead. I now have the privilege of providing your final charge as medical students. And now you're starry-eyed, you're confident, and you're ready to tackle your residencies. We are all proud of you, and me in particular. In a few moments, we will transition from being our students to our colleagues. This will not only be a momentous occasion for you, but a gratifying one for all of us at the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine. Now, over the next few minutes, I'd like to share perspectives of a fellow colleague, actually someone who's been around the block a few times, and has great affection for you as a class and very high expectations of you as well. It's a gross understatement to say that what you've achieved over the last 4 years is momentous and life-changing. It's difficult enough to stay focused on a rigorous curriculum and clinical studies when there are no distractions. It's even more remarkable when you consider that you've done so despite being in the middle of 3 internationally scrutinized local crises. Beginning in the fall of 2018, you witnessed a border crisis in our city that was a result of families fleeing violence, corruption, and poverty south of our border. With this humanitarian crisis in El Paso, we witnessed an almost 500% surge in migrant apprehensions, over 182,000 individuals over a few short months. Many of you, our students and our faculty, provided care and sustenance to these indigent families. On August 3rd, 2019, you were witness to a mass shooting that occurred at a Walmart store just down the interstate. Individually and as a class, you shared the horror, anger, confusion, and grief of the victims and their families, often while providing care and comfort. And now, over the past several months, your education, in fact, your entire world, has been turned upside down by the coronavirus pandemic crisis. Although each is different, a crisis of migration, one of random shooting, and another of viral pandemic, they were all solicited and uninvited. And to our credit, they did not define you, they did not cripple you. Instead, they revealed who you are as a medical community. Compassionate, caring, resilient, gracious, and strong. Our community calls it El Paso Strong. I'd also like to add Paul L. Foster School of Medicine, class of 2020, strong. Now, what we experienced together has provided real-life lessons on how to approach adversity as a community, a university, and as individuals. And what we have demonstrated to the world is that success is not the absence of adversity, rather, it is the persistence through adversity. Accordingly, I'd like to address what lies ahead of you in the next several months. It's the proverbial elephant in the room, and it can't be ignored. That's the coronavirus pandemic. Over the next several months and years, we'll be called upon to care for individuals affected by the coronavirus. And then when this crisis is over, care for individuals likely in another crisis. In my lifetime as physicians, we were called upon to deliver care to individuals afflicted with swine flu and H1N1 flu, influenza, AIDS, which at that time had no cure and 100% mortality, the Middle East respiratory syndrome, so-called MERS, the severe acute respiratory syndrome, so-called SARS, and attacks in Las Vegas, Sandy Hook, Columbine, and New York City with 9/11. In all of these circumstances, the medical community responded rapidly and courageously, despite personal risk and endangerment. Undoubtedly, many of you will face similar situations in the near future and in the years to come. I am confident that you will remember why you decided to wear the mantle of the physician and recall the pledge that you will recite today. I am confident that you will have the courage, personal and moral courage, to overcome your personal concerns in order to address the needs of patients and families who need your competent and compassionate care. As Nelson Mandela noted, and I quote, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." Courage is not an emotion, it's a practice. It's an act of the will. And courage is what you demonstrate when you feel scared about taking a bold action, but you do it anyway. Now that you spent 4 years training to be competent and caring physicians in our community, I would ask you to also be courageous in the midst of this and future crisis. Now, let me switch gears because there are other infrequently mentioned crises you will soon face that I'm not sure any of our faculty has previously addressed with you. So I'll do it on the eve of your graduation. I'm sorry I waited to the last minute to bring these up, but you know it's awfully hard to cram everything you need to know in 4 years. So in no particular order, your first crisis, the toilet paper crisis. Now, you may be wondering how you could possibly spend 4 years immersed in one of the most innovative medical curriculums in the United States and not be aware that a fever, cough, and shortness of breath may lead to a nationwide toilet paper shortage. We freely admit we failed to incorporate this into your case-based learning and will soon train our standardized patients with respiratory symptoms how to hoard toilet paper from the third-floor bathroom stalls. We apologize. We should have realized that if you needed 144 rolls of toilet paper for a 14-day quarantine, you probably should have been seeing the doctor long before the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, there's another unsuspected crisis you may soon encounter, and I mean soon. For years, your relatives and friends have been waiting patiently for you to obtain your medical degree so they can finally inquire about their lumps and joint pains, environmental allergies, dietary supplements, and Dr. Oz's latest medical advice. You need to know that after you're awarded your medical diploma today, you will soon be asked to identify rashes that have been captured on iPhone images. You'll be asked to evaluate a, quote, small scratch, that's usually a partially severed limb. They're expecting you to reattach with a sewing needle and thread. And you're going to be requested to refill obscure prescriptions urgently with no more knowledge than the size and color of the pill. You know, that small blue pill. Although you may find all this exasperating at times, in the end, you should be flattered that the persons who potty trained you and who vividly remember that you had difficulty with your math tables in the 3rd grade are now genuinely interested in your medical advice. Most importantly, your journey through medical school would not have been possible without the support of these relatives, spouses, and friends who now call upon you for advice. So, don't forget to thank them, not only today, but in the years to come. They are incredibly proud of you, and they should be. Show your gratitude for their support. Now, since we're talking about medical advice, before I move on, I'd like to give the married students and those about to be married with a family some personal advice. You should take this. When your spouse asks for your medical opinion concerning your child who has sore throat, pink eye, or diarrhea, and after a thorough exam you determine it's a viral illness that will resolve on its own, please do not take it upon yourself to tell your spouse it's a virus. It's much better to pay the pediatrician to tell him or her it's a virus, because there's no way in God, green earth, your spouse is going to believe you and allow it to go untreated without antibiotics. Just accept it and just move on. The last crisis I'll discuss is an existential one. Author Peggy Noonan is a columnist for the Wall Street Journal, a New York Times best-selling author, and was a speechwriter for President Ronald Reagan. And she described her 3-stage reaction to working in the White House like this. Stage 1, quote, I hope nobody finds out how stupid I am. Months later came stage 2. Hey, I'm just as smart as everyone else. Then, sometime later, came stage 3. Oh my God, I'm in charge now. You've likely experienced stages 1 and 2 during medical school. And you may find the realization, oh my God, I'm in charge now, quite frightening. If not yet, you will on July 1st. Let me assure you these anxieties are normal and they're healthy. We've all experienced them. The very first day of my internship at Johns Hopkins, I was on call and awake all night. When I finally went home the following day, I requested my wife not to unpack the moving boxes because I wasn't certain I was good enough to make it through the program. Now, contrary to my previous medical experiences, I ultimately did fine. Coincidentally, this is some of the better advice I give my wife, because 3 years later, when I completed the program and was ready to move to Texas, the boxes were already packed. If you'll permit, I'd like to offer some reassurance and advice that may help you make it through your internship. First, the reassurance. You'll be relieved to know that none of my patients, and I repeat none, ever inquired about my medical school GPA, my class rank, my lecture attendance, my honors, or my STEP test scores. They weren't even curious about my APGAR scores, which are probably the highest scores I've ever had. These things just didn't matter to them. Now, when you receive your diploma, all of you will be physicians, every single one of you, with equal stature and similar expectations. And when July 1st arrives, your patients won't be aware of your past accomplishments, whether they're many or whether they're meager, but they will expect you to be a compassionate and competent physician. Regardless of how well you performed or struggled in medical school over the past 4 years, during the next stage of your life, in residency, you'll have the opportunity to become an outstanding, exceptional physician. So seize this opportunity. Don't squander it. And with that, you'll set the course for the rest of your career. Now the advice. Today isn't the culmination of your medical education, but another beginning. Honestly, most of your medical education isn't behind you, I'm sorry to tell you, but it occurs in the next stage of your training. And believe it or not, it will be over before you realize it. So during your residency, care for as many patients as you can. There's really no better education. Purpose to read every day. Continually question. Don't be reticent to ask for assistance. It's not a sign of weakness. And when you make a mistake, and you will, because we all have, learn from it so it's never repeated. In short, be an enthusiastic and lifelong learner. And then finally, when you come to the point where there is nothing to offer to a terminally ill patient, do not underestimate the importance of genuine empathy, of understanding, your time, a calming touch, and the comfort that comes with listening. What the French surgeon Ambroise Paré understood in the 16th century is still true today. The task of medicine is to cure sometimes, is to relieve often, but it's to comfort always. You've studied hard to be competent and compassionate physicians with a community focus. Now add courage, commitment to lifelong learning, and comfort to your repertoire. As I considered what to say today, I was aware that you likely won't remember anything I said in the commencement speech, or even that I was your commencement speaker. So I'll get to the most important issue right now. When I started the speech, I addressed you as the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine class of 2020, medical students. Now that you've survived 4 years of medical school and this commencement speech, I'd like to take the opportunity to address you as doctors and welcome you as colleagues. We're happy for you, we're proud of you, and we celebrate with you today. Doctors, I offer you my heartfelt admiration and congratulations. Thank you.
Students with the motivation and capacity to excel in research and scholarship during medical school are truly exceptional. The following students successfully participated in a rigorous selection process and, based on their meritorious achievements, will graduate with distinction in research and scholarship. Jorge Guerra, congratulations. During their second year of medical school, students with a special interest in advanced instruction in anatomy have the opportunity to apply to this curriculum program. For the first time in our school's history, after successful completion and a diligent selection process, the following students will graduate with distinction in anatomy. Christina Alvara, Rebecca Bongada Marin, Jorge Guerra, Brittany Harper, Brian Jacinto, Akil Padarti, John Pisqui, Lorenzo Sabido, Andres Santos, Timothy Tran, Lachwin Vo. Congratulations. Since the matriculation of its inaugural class in 2009, the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine has collaborated with the University of Texas Health Sciences Center at Houston School of Public Health in a program through which medical students may concurrently complete and graduate with a Master of Public Health degree. The following students have successfully completed the requirements of this highly relevant and challenging program: Maria Aleman, Catherine Bowie, Joshua Dotterer, Callie Kirkham, Sajid Lalani, Angie Macias, Mina Manivanan, David Morris, Asad Niazi, Renee Roy. Congratulations. Dr. Charmaine Martin will now recognize student achievements.
The Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Medical Society, commonly known as Alpha Omega Alpha, or AOA, is a national honor society for medical students, residents, scientists, physicians in the United States and Canada. The goal of AOA is to recognize and perpetuate excellence in the medical profession. The AOA motto is to be worthy to serve the suffering. AOA was founded in 1902 by medical students who were dedicated to medicine as a scholarly pursuit and to the importance of physicians dedicating themselves to serving patients. Election to AOA is limited to those students that have excellent scholastic qualifications. In addition to academic excellence, candidates are selected on the basis of their outstanding professionalism, leadership skills, teaching, community service, research, and scholarly activity. The total number of students elected shall not exceed 1/6 of the total number in the class expected to graduate. It is a great privilege for me to recognize members of the class of 2020 elected to AOA membership. Christina Alvara, Joshua Doderer, Cyrus Elahi, Heather Jones, Janice Malikal, Elizabeth McCain, Calvin McNelly, Akil Pardarti, Peter Shahanian, Timothy Tran, Bryson Tudor, Jesse Vance, Lachwin Vo, Lindsay Wenzel, and Jacob Winters. Congratulations. The Gold Humanism Honor Society honors senior medical students, residents, role model physician teachers, and other exemplars who were nominated by students for demonstrated excellence in clinical care, leadership, compassion, and dedication to service. Organized to elevate the values of humanism and professionalism within the field of medicine and its constituent institutions, the Society is fast becoming integrated into medical education environment. In 2012, Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center, El Paso, Paul L. Foster School of Medicine established a chapter of the Gold Humanism Honor Society, and I am proud to introduce the members of the class of 2020. Maria Aleman, Christina Alvara, Jesse Bangs, Joshua Doderer, Sajid Lelani, Carlos Lodero, Mina Manivanan, Elizabeth McCain, Calvin McNally, Grant Pham, Laura Torres, Jesse Vance, Lachwin Vo, and Jacob Winters. Congratulations to all the students. And now for student recognitions, Dr. Cynthia Perry.
Each year, as part of the Match Day celebration, students are recognized by the various departments for their outstanding work. Students were recognized for their awards at Match Day, but I'd like to again publicly recognize these students for their achievements. Paige Williams, Outstanding Student in Emergency Medicine. Garrett Walker, Outstanding Student in Family and Community Medicine. Jose Venegas, Osler Award for Internal Medicine. Noe Caballero, Outstanding Student in Internal Medicine and Neurology. Teresa Smith, Outstanding Student in Obstetrics and Gynecology. Joshua Dotterer, Outstanding Student in Pediatrics. Elizabeth McCain, Outstanding Student in Pediatrics. Andres Diocaris, Outstanding Student in Psychiatry. Jesse Bangs, Outstanding Student in Psychiatry. Ashton Barrientes, Outstanding Student in Surgery. Congratulations. This is the fourth year the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine is pleased to honor members of our 100-hour club, which includes all students who have undertaken and documented service outside our campus, totaling more than 100 hours during their medical school education. The purpose of the 100-hour club is to encourage students to make time for service in activities of their choosing, both in clinical and community settings. 49 of the students in the class of 2020 are members, with 10 students having over 500 service hours each. In the class overall, 88% documented some service hours and together have over 13,000 hours of service. We will now recognize the students who have more than 500 hours of service. Calvin McNeely with 502 hours. Grant Pham with 503 hours. Lindsay Wenzel with 507 hours. Akhil Padarti with 550 hours. Heather Jones with 561 hours. Carlos Lodero with 574 hours. Rebecca Bongado with 577 hours. Franz Poyle with 580 hours. Lock Win Vo with 624 hours. And Elizabeth McCain with 676 hours. Congratulations, everyone. In every graduating class, there are students who have chosen to join a branch of the United States Armed Services. This student will soon serve as both a physician and officer with rank in the Medical Corps. U.S. Army Captain Maggie Scribner. Thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. It's my honor to present two awards to the graduating class. The first award is the Dean's Highest Academic Achievement Award. It is given to the student who has achieved the most honors grades in required clerkships in years 3 and 4, as well as the highest average on USMLE Step 1 and 2. This year, the student who demonstrates the highest academic achievement is Jesse Vance. Jesse, you will be presented with an award and a check in recognition of your outstanding achievements. Congratulations, Jesse. The second award is the Gold-Headed Cane Award. The Gold-Headed Cane Award is a long-standing tradition in medicine begun by the Royal College of Physicians in London in 1689. I was not there during that first ceremony. The college selected a physician to carry the cane who they deemed to be an outstanding clinician and also exemplify the ultimate in consideration for patient care. The tradition was brought to America in 1919 and now carries with that tradition at TTUHSC El Paso in the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine. The recipient is selected jointly by students and faculty as the individual who best exemplifies those attributes that are most desirable in a competent and caring physician. Dr. Herb Jansen handcrafted a walking cane with gold trim and generously donated it to our school. The cane and an engraved nameplate are both prominently displayed in the glass cases of our medical education building. And now, the recipient of this year's Gold-Headed Cane Award is Elizabeth McCain. Elizabeth, you will also be presented with an award and a check in recognition of your outstanding achievements. Congratulations, Elizabeth. Now, let us proceed with the conferring of degrees. Degrees are awarded to those who have successfully completed all requirements established by Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center, El Paso, and the faculty. Faculty has recommended the candidates of the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine for conferring of their medical degree. Therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of Texas Tech University System, I confer upon each of you the medical degree.
I am honored to read the names of the candidates who have earned their medical degrees. Dr. Rebecca Adams. Dr. Ashutosh Agrawal. Dr. Maria Aleman. Dr. Cristina Alvara. Dr. Jesse Bangs. Dr. Ashton Barrientos. Dr. Daniel Bassick. Dr. Anthony Bastian. Dr. Rebecca Bongato Merren. Dr. Catherine Bowie. Dr. Noe Caballero. Dr. Benjamin Chang. Dr. Lloyd Christensen. Dr. Andres Diocares. Dr. Huang An Dong. Dr. Joshua Dodderer. Dr. Trent Edwards. Dr. Cyrus Elahi. Dr. Emmanuel Enriquez. Dr. Daria Falamarsi. Dr. Kevin Frazier. Dr. Manuel Garza. Dr. Jorge Guerra. Dr. David Gustafson. Dr. Brittany Harper. Dr. Michael He. Dr. Brian Jacinto. Dr. Heather Jones. Dr. Priyanka Kesavan Cherry. Dr. Callie Kirkham. Dr. Christina Lee. Dr. Sajid Leilani. Dr. Shane Lipson. Dr. Carlos Lodeiro. Dr. Russell Lawley, Dr. Natalia Luna, Dr. Amanda Macias, Dr. Janice Maliakal, Dr. Meenakshi Manivanan, Dr. Stacy Matthews, Dr. Elizabeth McCain, Dr. Calvin McNally, Dr. Stephen Moreland, Dr. David Morris, Dr. Ijoma Nduka, Dr. Asad Niazi, Dr. Joshua Nichols, Dr. William Oglesby, Dr. Tyler Olson, Dr. Akil Padarti, Dr. Patrick Palacios, Dr. Grant Pham, Dr. Kong Fan, Dr. John Pisqui, Dr. Franz Puyol, Dr. Blair Quattrochi, Dr. Pompeo Quesada, Dr. Hugo Quesada, Dr. Servando Rivera, Dr. Javier Rodriguez, Dr. Michael Romagosa, Dr. Renee Roy, Dr. Lorenzo Sabido, Dr. Andres Santos, Dr. Maggie Scribner, Dr. Peter Shahinian, Dr. Teresa Smith, Dr. Sachin Srinivasan, Dr. Laura Torres, Dr. Timothy Tran, Dr. Austin Trotter, Dr. Florette Shaba, Dr. Bryson Tudor, Dr. Angie Uvina, Dr. Jesse Vance, Dr. Jose Venegas, Dr. Lachlan Vo, Dr. Vansh Vora, Dr. Kimberly Vu, Dr. Garrett Walker, Dr. Stephen Waddy, Dr. Kyle Webster, Dr. Lindsay Wenzel, Dr. Alexandra Willauer, Dr. Paige Williams, Dr. Jacob Winters, Dr. Jingyang Yi, Dr. Zarmeen Zahir. The graduates will now recite their class oath. The oath was written by the class at the time of their matriculation. It will continue to guide them into their residencies and their careers as healthcare professionals.
At all times, I will remember that I am a servant of humanity.
To this end, I profess the following.
I will uphold and build upon the standards of my predecessors,
maintaining a scientist's curiosity,
while respecting the wisdom of the past.
I will maintain a reverence for all those entrusted to my care,
both in life and in death, for they are my teachers.
Through competence and compassion,
I will express gratitude for their willingness to help me grow.
Forsaking motivations that could compromise judgment,
I will offer treatment to the best of my ability with equity for all.
I will respect my patient's sovereignty while minimizing harm.
I will fulfill my role with integrity and humility.
In collaboration with my patients,
their loved ones, and our partners in care.
Although I am a steward of my community,
I will remember that I am fallible.
I will reflect on my experiences, acknowledge my limitations,
and seek help whenever needed.
I will not only empower others to maintain good health,
I will strive to do so myself.
Affirming my community and loved ones as part of my journey.
Their needs will not be ignored.
Thank you for the sacrifices you have made and will make.
Above all, I will remember that medicine is intrinsically bound to humanity.
Majestic confluence that shapes and improves upon our society.
I shall remember this oath and strive towards the ideals it embodies.
I take this oath solemnly, freely, and upon my honor.
Congratulations, class. I would like to thank our faculty and staff for their dedication to preparing this new team of doctors so well for the challenges that lie before them. And to you, the graduates, I am pleased to offer my sincere congratulations to each of you. And as you leave Texas Tech, I charge each of you to be dedicated to your profession, your institution, and your peers. Never compromise your integrity or the character of your friends, colleagues, and professors who have stood beside you. Be diligent in being a lifelong learner. The degree that is conferred on you today is only the beginning of your education. It's not the end. Be dissatisfied with anything other than your very best. The world is filled with people that are satisfied with mediocrity. You be different. Don't be satisfied. Don't settle for anything less than your full potential. Be daring. Don't just dream of doing something. Do it. Something big and audacious. As Nike would say, just do it. Be devoted. Be devoted to those who need care or infirm, they're less than fortunate, and they're needy. They need your compassionate and competent care. We are proud of you and what you've accomplished. You are our greatest measure of success, and I have every confidence that you will be our greatest asset in the future. Best wishes to all of you. Stay in touch. Congratulations.